Thank you very much. Credibility and oversight go together. This morning, there's some new information that has come out which reflects the importance of additional oversight, both from Mr. Richard and from the representatives of Caltrain. Now, you heard Mr. Richard say this morning that the reason they chose iOS North is, they have limited funds. They only have $20 billion. And $20 billion is less than what they estimated 3.5 years ago it would cost to go south, $31 billion. Now, that $31 billion is 3.5 years old. What would it be today? Would it mean that their gap is even greater? But what you weren't told this morning, and what came out 6 months ago, is that you have to add another $10 billion to the $10 billion gap between 20 and 31. That's because of a scandal that was uncovered by on the part of the High-Speed Rail Authority, by the Los Angeles Times and a whistleblower in October of last year. And it goes back to the fall of 2013, when the authority was concerned about the difficulty and the cost of going under and over the San Gabriel Mountains and the Tehachapi Mountains. So they went to their eminent contractor, one of the largest in the United States, Parsons Brinckerhoff, and asked them to study it. Well, Parsons Brinckerhoff did study it. And the High-Speed Rail Authority held on to the report and kept it secret for 25 months. Why did they keep it secret? Because their own contractor said, you have to add $9 billion more to your $31 billion. Because the confluence of earthquake faults under those mountain ranges are the greatest in the world. The confluence of these faults, making it incredibly difficult to go through or under this region. They kept that secret. The whistleblower went to the LA Times. The LA Times wrote an article in October of 2015. What happened then? Congress descended on them. The Assembly, some of the people in the Assembly descended on them, and the court proceedings descended on them, until they were so embarrassed they finally revealed it days later after all this pressure was put, and it comes out. $9 billion. Now, where do you see that in the business plan? And where have you heard that today? Oversight and credibility are central to this issue. Now, I also want to commend to you to read a statute that you passed long ago. Public Utilities Code 185033. 185033. As I read this, it says every time the authority gives a report to the legislature, and we've had the business plan of 2014, we have the business plan of 2016, and many other reports, including one today, they are supposed to tell you an updated cost of the entire statewide system and every segment of it, the entire statewide system. Now, is there anything that any legislature in the United States wants to know more? Updated cost of projects that they are funding. That's good oversight. It makes a lot of sense. They have never complied with that provision since Proposition 1A was passed. Are the people who live in San Diego, the Inland Empire, Sacramento, and Oakland potted plants? They did vote for this project. They're completely ignored. Nobody knows what Phase 2 is going to cost because they've never complied with that Public Utilities Code section. Make them comply. The voters of this state need to know what the entire statewide system is going to cost. They just pay attention to Phase 1, pretending like Phase 1 is everything. Now, I'd like to make a couple of comments about what Caltrain said. What they have not told you is that the original cost of electrification, when the legislature appropriated the money, was $1.2 billion. They haven't told you that that's almost doubled. Oh, no, it's almost doubled. Actually, the $600 million was appropriated by the legislature for the peninsula, under the anticipation that the whole thing would cost 1.2. But if it's going to cost $2 billion, it means you've got to go back and appropriate more money, if that's even legal. Did you also know that when you appropriated $600 million for the peninsula and $500 million for Southern California, the bookends, did you know that they had not given you a funding plan? That is not a legal appropriation. There's no problem with the Central Valley. The Central Valley, they gave you a funding plan, the authority, and you appropriated the money. But the bookends were an afterthought, and they never presented you with a legal funding plan. You have to have a legal funding plan. That appropriation cannot be considered. It's not even legal because there was no legal funding plan as required by Proposition 1A. So that's very important to realize. You're also told these glowing stories about cooperation from Southern California. Do you know that your own legislative council said the Southern California operation is illegal under Proposition 1A because they won't electrify. They refuse to electrify. They can't get any Proposition 1A money. They can't even get the $500 million you supposedly appropriated for them. That is not revealed. Another instance where you need oversight. A few months ago, the High-Speed Rail hearing, the High-Speed Rail Authority held hearings on the peninsula about their grand plans for Caltrain. There was virtually an uprising, and here's why. There are 47 intersections between San Francisco and San Jose. They all have to be grade separated. That's about $5 billion conservatively. They don't have any money for that. They have no money. And listen to this. Proposition 1A requires that 12 trains going north and 12 trains going south be accommodated by the Transbay Terminal in San Francisco. That means that coming down the peninsula, there will be 12 trains going south, 12 trains going north. Every intersection and every city will be paralyzed without grade separation. They don't have the money for it. You don't hear this addressed. You don't hear it addressed at all. They don't have the money for it. It's going to result in paralysis. So these are a few instances why you desperately need oversight and why these unanswered questions need to be examined. Thank you.